Hello everyone, hope you're having a good day. Today, I want to talk about The Road to El Dorado. I love The Road to El Dorado. I think it's one of DreamWorks' most underrated movies of all time. Growing up in the 2000s, this movie has stuck with me till adulthood for several reasons, whether that be for the animation or the depiction of a culture I had never seen before. But I think the main reason why people love this film is because of the characters and their relationships. Tulio and Miguel are probably the most underrated duo in animated history. Now I know people might say, what about Captain Haddock and Tintin? But in my opinion, I think Tulio and Miguel win. I want to talk about some scenes that I think embody Tulio and Miguel as one of the best duos. The first scene is when they're conning the sailor. This is the first time we're meeting the duo. We see Tulio being strategic, logical and money hungry, while Miguel is free-spirited, fun-loving and adventurous. This dynamic leads to some of the best comedy in the film. Tulio being cautious while Miguel is impulsive often drags Tulio into risky situations with an optimistic outlook and a desire for adventure. We can see this when the duo is gambling for money. Two have just won a pile of gold. The sailor bets their map to El Dorado. At first Tulio is not interested, but Miguel, seeking adventure, wants to bid again, so reluctantly Tulio agrees. This leads to the two getting caught using loaded dice. We see the dynamic change. Up until now, the duo have been bickering at each other, but in the sword fight scene, we see them working together in a unique way. They pretend to argue and fight each other to keep the guards distracted, but we as the audience assume that this is not the first time that this has happened, making us believe that their friendship is real and authentic. The movie could have easily said that they've been friends for years, giving us meaningless exposition, but the filmmakers show how long they've been friends for by showing the trust between them. Another thing that helps is that the two are voiced amazingly by Kevin Kline, Kenneth Branagh. Anyway, long story short, the duo end up getting caught by Cortez, one of the villains of the movie, and this leads me to the second scene that I want to talk about. Tulio and Miguel are in prison, and again we see their two contrasting personalities clash. Miguel is hopeful that they will escape, while Tulio has given up. Miguel gets an idea to use El Tivo by persuading him with an apple to help them escape, and of course Tulio thinks that this is an idiotic plan and that it will never work, and he is proven wrong immediately. They load up on a rowboat to escape Cortez, but Tivo goes overboard. At this moment, Tulio and Miguel are con men, so we as the audience are not meant to like them, but because they are funny and enduring, we don't think about it. But this is the first thing we see them do that is not selfish. They end up saving El Tivo, and of course it's Miguel that starts the rescue. By the way, a joke that I love is when they're in the rowboat and El Tivo is eating all the rations, and Tulio is heartbroken while Miguel is optimistic, saying it can't get any worse, and then it immediately rains. The duo by coincidence end up on the island of El Dorado, and they make their way through the jungle. We hear Elton John's soundtrack on The Trail We Blaze, and this is where the animation shines. It's a breath of fresh air to go back and watch a 2D animated film. The last 2D animated film that DreamWorks released was Sinbad, almost 25 years ago, which makes me feel old, I'm not gonna lie. It's honestly a shame that most Western studios have abandoned 2D animation in favour of 3D, as the duo are making their way through the jungle to find the entrance to El Dorado, and this is where we get introduced to Chell. Speaking of Chell, she's probably one of the main reasons why this movie is talked about still to this day, just because of her character design. Fun fact, Chell's design was meant to be way more revealing in the original film. Chell being introduced to the duo adds another dynamic to the now new trio. We as the audience feel a shift in focus with Chell's involvement. The movie goes from purely adventurous with Tulio and Miguel to a more complex interpersonal dynamic. Their trio evolves from just being partners in crime to friends with deeper bonds. At first, Tulio and Miguel don't trust Chell, but she convinces them because she provides cultural insight that they don't have. With Chell now being part of the trio, it also adds a romantic element to the mix. And you all know the scene what I'm talking about. You know, when I was younger, I thought they were just hugging, but now I know what they were doing, what they were implying. When Tulio and Miguel get introduced to the chief and Zako Khan, their dynamic stays the same, only now they have to pretend to be gods. I would say that this is the heart of the movie, seeing Miguel and Tulio conning the whole city and making stuff up as they go on. Also, I love that Miguel sometimes gets carried away with being a god, and Tulio has to pull him back to reality. So now that Tulio and Miguel are pretending to be God for the Chief and Zeko Khan, even though I think the Chief saw through their act immediately and was just using them to manipulate Zeko Khan. The Chief knew that Zeko Khan's obsession with the gods would be his downfall. Speaking of Zeko Khan, his obsession with the gods is just an excuse to kill people and rule with fear. An example of this is where he pushes his loyal servant into the pool of magic and kills him for no reason. There is a reason, but it's still messed up. Also, speaking of that scene, that's another example of where the animation shines. The next scene I want to talk about is the board game. Up until now, Tulio and Miguel have fooled Zeko Khan into thinking that they are gods, but Miguel, being Miguel, decides to talk to the locals. Zeko Khan sees this and is confused, thinking that the gods should rule with fear instead of love. He challenges Tulio and Miguel to a board game using 15 of the best players, and what do Miguel and Tulio do? They cheat, using the armadillo as a board to win. Tulio ends up hitting Miguel in his head, causing him to bleed. Because of this, Zeko Khan finds out that they are not gods. Finding out that Tulio and Miguel are not gods, he wants to take the city back into his own hands, using any means necessary, hence why he killed his servant. We then get my favourite set piece in this movie, having Zeko Khan become the stone jaguar. A fun detail that I like is that Zeko Khan becomes more animal-like throughout the possession. Zeko Khan ends up cornering the duo, and I think this is the funniest part of the whole film, when Tulio and Miguel start slapping each other.
A mountain of gold if you had just listened to me.
Well, now you've got all the precious gold and Chell. So what do you need me for?
Well, maybe I don't need you anymore.
Well, then why don't you just go back to Spain and I'll stay here and we'll both get what we want.
Fine with me, pal.
Fine with me too. Fine. Okay.
All right.
It's hilarious, and is a callback to the first time we met Tulio and Miguel. They use this to distract Zeko Khan to defeat him. Zeko Khan ends up meeting Cortez, and he thinks that he's the true god. He tries to show Cortez El Dorado, but just in time, Tulio and Miguel, Chell, and the Chief end up closing the passageway to El Dorado. When Zeko Khan and Cortez arrive at El Dorado, they are surprised to find nothing there. This makes Cortez mad, thinking that he's lied. He then takes Zeko Khan as his prisoner. The movie ends with Tulio, Miguel, Chell, and El Tivo riding off into the sunset. It's honestly a shame that this movie never got a sequel. When this movie was released, it was met with lukewarm reception. At the time of this recording, it sits at 50% for critics and 66% for audiences. Some of the critiques of the film are that it has a confusing tone and doesn't know if it wants to be a kids movie or a movie for adults. Unfortunately, this movie bombed. With a budget of $95 million, it grossed $76 million worldwide. However, I am happy to see that this movie has a cult following and still relevant to this day. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. I plan on doing something with Treasure Planet soon. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day.